right, so we're going to take a little detour from directly creating a tutorial to just taking a look at some of the elements and nodes that we have inside of Blueprint that'll really make things easier for us to beautify, make our code easier to read, and really help us to have more power in what we can do in Blueprints. So first of all, we'll just remember that we've seen all of our different events. If we right-click inside of our event graph and we just start looking for event, we'll see that there are actually a lot of other events that we can learn how to use. So for example, there's an event destroyed. This will happen whenever we destroy an actor. There's an event end play that happens at the end of the game as well. We've got, mouse input if your mouse cursor moves over the top of your object. Eventually, when you get into gameplay, you're going to have elements where you're able to apply damage to an object. And you can look at these events that happen when some damage is done. Take some time to look through all these different events that we can work with to think about all the different things that we can do as we're working inside of Blueprint. The next set of commands that we want to look at are commands for flow control. So if I just search here for flow control, we'll see that there's a whole subsection of nodes that are using flow control nodes. So for example, there's a whole bunch of different switches based on a bunch of different enums or enumerators. There's our branch node that we already know about. There's a delay node, which will allow us to delay a certain number of seconds. We've seen do once, which allows us to do an action only one time, but there's also a do n node. Do n will allow us to do an option only a given set number of times that we can choose. So if you want something to only happen 2 times or 10 times or 100 times, you can use the do n node. Another node that we're going to look at here is the gate node. So I'll bring one up so we can take a look here. So here's the gate node. When we come in from an event, it goes into the enter node. If the gate, so think of this like a gate on a fence, if it is currently open, then activity will fire out the exit node. So let me put my print string here. So in this case, when we begin playing, if this gate is open, we'll exit out print string. Now, since my object started closed, it's not going to run. However, if we were to open that either by starting open, right, by changing that a Boolean there, or by calling our open function. So I can say on my begin play, let's actually open the gate, and then on overlap, we'll enter. So now when we start, it opens the gate. Even though it starts closed, the begin play will open it. So you can think of this as a way of having something happen or not be able to happen based on this flow control. So take a moment to think about how we coded our doors using a Boolean variable. If it was opened, then it would allow it to pass out of that branch, out the true node. If it was not opened, if that Boolean was false, it would not exit out that node. And then we had a command for unlock that would change that Boolean variable. All of that logic is exactly the same here inside of our gate node, right? So think about how they might have coded this node behind the scenes and how it's the same as what we did with our branch and our open and close. You'll need to experiment with the gate node and get to know how it works for your upcoming assignment. So make sure you take time to look at the gate node, think about how this could work, and think about how you could use it to lock or unlock a door the way we did with a Boolean variable. The next node that we're going to look at, also going to be under flow control, is going to be the sequence node. So here's our sequence node. The sequence node is going to allow us to bring a command in, and then it will do these objects one at a time. So if I were to connect multiple print strings here, the sequence would do all of these one at a time. So it's going to do one node until it stops. Then it'll do the next one until it stops. And then I could always just keep adding pins, and it'll do the next one until it stops. The sequence node is very valuable for making your code more organized or to look more efficient. So it'll really help you to put things closer together, easier to see, and easier to think about, oh, I want to do these events one after another in order. You are going to have to use a sequence node somewhere in your project just to show that you know how that node works. So think about the things that we do where we do multiple actions and how you can think about them as a sequence rather than putting them one after another in a row. So those are the extra flow control nodes and event nodes that I wanted us to look at. Make sure you have a good understanding of these and take time to expand your knowledge and learn even more.